Well, the phrase, the Pakar Kokavim, translated as the assembly of the stars, this refers to divine beings in the council of the gods. There are some who downplay this and say, well, no, this is just ancient astrology or something like that. Oh, no, no. No, it is absolutely not. This is another reference to the divine council of the gods. So that's interesting. Well, the linguistic cognates for these terms, these are found throughout every strata of the Old Testament. Well, in fact, you know what? I'm going to take a moment and write these scriptures down and show you. Yeah, and then, yes, that's right. Yeah, I want to take a moment. I'm going to write this down on the chalkboard because we're beginning to get into the language of the council of the gods, the assembly of the gods, and so on and so forth. And Blake explores several different Hebrew terms, and I want to share those with you. I want to show you that, and I'll try to give you as many English synonyms of these Hebrew words also, so that as you're reading along in the King James or the NIV, whichever translation you prefer, when you run across these synonyms, there may be, when you run across these words, there may be hints of a council, because Michael Heiser contends, and he's serious, and he shows this. It is really impressive. Heiser contends there's not just a couple of odd, incongruous, far off and far separate references to the council of the gods. The council of the gods saturates the scriptures. There are hundreds of references. Man, there are hundreds of references of the council of the gods in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the late Second Temple Judaism. That is, Judaism from after the Babylonian captivity. Let's say 400 BC to 200 AD. This is called late Second Temple Judaism. Even all the way up into and past the New Testament times. This council of the gods is mentioned hundreds of times in the literature. Fascinating. Very Anyway, I'm going to put some stuff on the chalkboard and I'll be right back. Yeehaw. Now, here's part of Blake's discussion, part of his illustration on the idea of the various different types of names and words that have to do with the council of the gods in the Hebrew Bible. It's not just in one place or another either. It is absolutely throughout the Hebrew text, as well as the various types of Hebrew texts that this council of the gods is discussed. And here's how Osler breaks this down. Heiser does the same thing as does Mullen, incidentally. But he says references to the heavenly council occur in every literary genre in the Hebrew Bible. Narrative, that's Exodus 24. Historical, 1 Kings chapter 22. The prophetic narrative, Isaiah 6, Jeremiah 23. Poetic narrative, Job 1. Liturgical narrative, Psalm 103. The wisdom narrative in Job 15. Visionary narrative, 1 Kings 22, and Ezekiel 1, Isaiah 6, and Zechariah 3. As well as from the earliest to the latest materials written in the Hebrew Bible. The earliest is in Deuteronomy, Exodus 15, Deuteronomy 32:8, Psalm 29:1, so on and so forth. And he says, to the latest written material in the Hebrew Bible, Nehemiah 9 and Daniel 7. And then this is what I wanted to write up on the board. Now, and I'll read it and try to point it out to you. I hope you can see that on the board. You should be able to. It's dark enough. He says, Psalm 82:1. Here, the Adat El. It refers to the divine council as the Adat El. This is the divine assembly, the assembly of God. I wrote the divine council, but it's a grouping, or the assembly of El. The Hebrew word dor here. Now, dor at one time was thought to mean generation. Or to a group, a generation of people. And now dor has been discovered to also mean circle or assembly. a circle of followers or an assembly of followers of a various, in this instance, in the Ugaritic instance and in the Hebrew Bible instance, it's the assembly, the circle of El, of course. And he says this is the term, and this is probably the meaning in Amos 8:14, which is kind of interesting. He says the terms sod and kahal, you can see them here, sod and kahal. These are cognates for the divine assembly. For example, Job 15:8 refers to the council of God as the havasod Elo. Elo is the singular of the plural Elohim. You have Aleph, Lamed, Vav with the Holim and the Hey. So the Havasod, you can see the Sod here, this is the council of the holy ones. Well, the B'nai Elim, see, you have the B'nai Elohim, you have the B'nai Elim, you have the B'nai El, you have the Sod El, the Havasod Elo. All of these different singulars, plurals, masculines and feminines, signify Adat El, Dor, Sod, Kahal, the Havasod Elo, the Beni Elohim, the Kahal Kedoshim. Now Kadosh, the Kedoshim is the holy ones, the ones who are assembled as holy ones, that scholars later on say didn't indicate divine beings, but the holy ones signified the divine angels, or the angels coming down, taking it a notch down. But the sons of El are always described as Elohim, gods. And they mean that on the same species level as God. There is not a difference. The difference is these are the sons of the Father. And they were allotted their allotment of the nations while Yahweh took Israel. And so these are real deities. This is not imaginary beings that we're dealing with here. So this kind of, this kind of gives you the feel for the assembly, the circle, the group, the gathering, whether they're sons or the divine assembly of El, whether it has to do with the Kadoshim, the holy ones. Kadosh, of course, is holy, sacred, something that's set apart, cut away from, so on and so forth. So the Kahal Kadoshim is the assembly of the holy ones, the assembly of the gods. This is the council of the gods. It's a pretty interesting and intense vocabulary. It's kind of fun to know, isn't it? He further elaborates that in Isaiah 6, scholarship has now pretty much understood 6 as being a vision of the heavenly council. Now, it's in this chapter of Isaiah that the Lord is seeking someone to send to tell his message to, and Isaiah says, "Here am I, send me." I think that's very interesting. The prophet has been initiated into the divine council himself. He has become a member of that council, and that legitimates his calling as a prophet. Isaiah chapter 6 is interesting. There are 3 tiers of heavenly beings in Israelite literature. The first tier is occupied by Yahweh Elohim, and he is the highest God, the most high God. He is described as this. He alone presides. Elohim, the joint name Yahweh Elohim, is translated as Lord God in the King James and the NIV and others. He alone presides over the divine council of the gods. His word is the final law of all decisions or adumbrations or counselings that the divine council works together with. It's Yahweh Elohim's final word that is the final say-so. The second tier, of course, is the sons of God. So it's a family setting, and Mark Smith was big on this, the earthly family situation of father, mother, son, and daughter in his book, Early Israelite Polytheism. This earthly family situation reflects the heavenly family, which is the council of the gods. And then the third is, of course, the